Okay, welcome everyone to our Canvas K-12 or P-12, depending on which state or territory or region you're in, APAC Canvas user group. We've got a couple of great topics that we're discussing today, and thanks so much for coming along. Now, even though we're on Zoom and it's digital at the moment, we'd love for you to have your video on if you can, so that it's more like we're there together in person. And as always, this is a time where we can share together what we're doing inside of Canvas for us to come together as different schools across the region and share what we're doing and to yammer on about various topics. And feel free to unmute yourself and participate, ask questions. The meeting is not restricted in any way, so anyone can jump in and raise their hand and ask on any topic that we're talking about. And at the end, we're going to have some Q&A. Speaking of which, this is the agenda. We're going to kick off with a little bit of sharing from One School Global. Actually, they're using credentials and badging for their staff PD, and just sharing what they're doing on that front and how they're taking advantage of that for staff professional development. Then we're also going to be talking about how you as in everyone here, are setting standards for and supporting your staff, both in training them and setting standards for minimum requirements for their courses and things of that nature. And of course, it wouldn't be user group without just general Q&A and discussion, sharing things that we're doing in Canvas in our own schools. So feel free to jump in. If you've got any questions of anyone that's chatting at the time, either put it in the chat or come off mute and ask. If at all possible, try and raise your hand so that's a little bit more orderly and we can do it if you're going to come off mute. But I'll hand the reins over to Jeff, who will have a bit of a chat about what you're doing at One School Global. Go ahead, Jeff.
Fabulous. Thanks. I'm just pulling up a screen. Hopefully you can see that. Have I got the right screen?
Looks
fabulous. Good. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. A little bit of background, and then I'll launch in just a quick presentation, maybe go live with all the risks that takes, and answer some questions as we go. So just a quick background. We have around 120 school campuses globally and a fairly bespoke learning framework. And so we want our staff to come in and to really pick up the way we teach and learn around a self-directed learning pedagogy, and really to grasp that from the beginning. And so it takes a little bit of training and retraining our staff to get them on board. So we have 5 Canvas instances globally, but we've created one instance just for staff training that any teacher across the globe can access. And we're really in the middle of kind of redeveloping this whole thing. So that's the background to it. I'll just dive straight in and let's launch into what we're doing. So we've developed what we call a certification pathway over 3 phases, which is approximately 3 years, but we may have staff that move through quicker or slower, depending on how they go. First, all teachers, whether they're new to teaching or just new to school, go through the inductee program. And here are the topics down here, right from our vision ethos, etc., child protection framework, right through to teaching with Canvas and Zoom. We use a lot of platforms, privacy, cyber awareness. So some of the basic compliance stuff you'd expect, but also some competency frameworks around the way we teach and learn, and a little bit different for each region, just depending on their government requirements, etc. So that's in place. We built that and happy with that. Now what we're building at the moment for launch in 24 is the OSG educator phase, which is really around assignment. Now that's not Canvas assignment. That's a module of work that we call the assignment. And really building great Canvas assignments is a real key for us. And then teaching that through Zoom and online and sometimes hybrid. We use MAP, Measure of Academic Progress, came out of the US NWA. It takes a bit of training, but it's a measure of progress. And then, of course, digital learning, which is key for us. We've got about 10 global platforms that we use. So that's the OSG educator. And then phase 3 will be really around an action research project, evidence of being able to mentor or coach, which will give them that lovely badge at the end. So the question we had was, how do you badge it? How do you credential it? Now, we had tinkered with Badger before Canvas, what's the term? Pulled it into the fold. And this kind of helped us, I think, because it's all part of the Instructure family. So we started experimenting, but then it worked out fairly easy for us to be able to do that. So that's the framework that we developed. There's some examples. So here's a screenshot of our induction course. And you can see this is a Canvas course, and we model exactly the way that we have in our secondary template. We want our teachers to learn in a way that they're going to teach their students, which is a standard template across the globe. And you can see those, what we call assignments or modules of work, that they link out into a page where you have a place for submission of feedback. And this assessment here is just a discussion board, some contribution to that page. Now, the reason I'm showing you that is because I want you to see the triggers for credentials. So we've built in a badging module in the back of every course. So this course has 8 badging modules for 8 credentials, micro-credentials. And this is the Learning to Learn framework badging module, if that makes sense. So it's quite simple, nothing too arduous. This is all self-directed and quizzes and discussion with one submission there. And when we trigger that to complete all items with varying degrees of standards, then it will trigger a micro-credential for that particular part of that course. The way that works is in credentials or badges. So this here, the badges bit here, we can click on this particular badge that we've created and then put the requirements in here and then just told it to basically go, if you've completed that module, which is this module, then a student or a teacher in our case will have this badge there. And you can see that of the 65 in this course at the moment, there are 25 who've completed that badge. So from this view, I can see that if you're a student in the course, then you will actually see your progress as to what that looks like. The other great thing about that is the pathway view inside. Again, I'm in the same course, just a screenshot view of this. And again, they can see the micro-credentials. There is one optional there because we've got slightly different categories of teachers. But then we can just add them up and they can see exactly their progress. It'll spit up where they're up to, and they can see their journey through the induction course. They can see it. We can see it. We can sort of pull analytics and data and send it back to each region. And then that builds a great idea for us. So that's the overview. I think that's one more slide before I can go live. This is the back end. This is the fun bit. And it probably makes sense for me here to pull a live view of this. Before I do that, are there any questions? Is there anything in the chat? So I'll just jump to the chat. Yes, we are using City Labs for this page design, although we're in trouble at the moment because their new UI is not backwards compatible with the way we've designed these large link groups. So we've got a few little technical challenges there, which I'm sure we can overcome. Any questions or comments or even suggestions around how we're using this product?
There's one more in there from Jeremy asking, did you ever consider using Learning Vault?
We haven't, Jeremy, no, but yeah, happy for suggestions. Is it good? Does it work?
Shrug of the shoulders. I'm not sure if you can see.
I can see there's some background noise here, so I shrugged. I don't really know enough about Learning Vault, but I know that they're trying to promote themselves in Australia.
Yeah, I don't know about them, to be honest. This was underway.
You've had this for a little while now, Jeff, haven't you? You had credentials back when it was Badger Pro before Instructure, it became part of the Instructure family. Yep.
Yep. Although to be fair, we haven't really used it well, or it's only really in the last year or so that we've really worked out how to use it, or the need for us to use it, because of our structures have dictated a need to credential more closely. If I sorry, wrong button. If I just pop up a live view of that here. Now you'll see these badges are actually placeholders, the nice little round ones, because you can't build a badge without an artwork. And I'm slow on building out the artwork properly. So I've just dropped in a placeholder badge for now. But you can see the way it works in the back end here. I've got a number of micro credentials there that add up to this badge here. And then you can see here, we've attached the badge and the details of that badge. So you have a description and an earning criteria for this badge. And then we could actually flick onto the full sort of, this is the public view, if you like, of that particular badge. So if someone puts it on LinkedIn or whatever, they can actually click in and go, here's the badge, here's the pathway that's attached to earning criteria, etc. So that's the public view. And then we can check on how many teachers have received that badge. Then our intention is for them to go through these 4 next phase, which will give them the OSG educator. That combined with an action research project, coaching, mentoring, will give them that final advanced educator badge. And maybe a pay rise, I don't know, some sort of incentive to help our staff to move through that progress there. So you can see it's quite fun adding steps and playing with this. I believe there is a course, Paul, if you're not sure how to configure it, but it's fairly straightforward to add steps and to work that through in the back end and then link it back to Canvas.
Yeah, I mean, the point of what we're talking about right now is not necessarily to be a sales session, but
no, not at all.
It's more to just show what you're actually doing. But yeah, if you do get credentials, which is previously Badger Pro, it does come with training when you purchase the product. So yeah, you are trained on how to create the pathways and do all the analytics and all that kind of stuff. So Jen actually has a couple of questions there. Do you want to come off mute, Jen, or?
Yeah, hey, I'll just start the video too so people know I'm here. Hey, Paul. Hi, everyone. We don't have the Badger Pathways full account yet because I just have to convince everyone that it's something worthwhile investing in. So in the meantime, we're just using the credentials, the old Badger sort of version. And when I create the class groups for the students, it's bringing all the observers into the group as staff. So, at the moment, it's not too much of a problem because we're just trialing it with about 4 different classes, and the parents. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if there's a way around that, or if anyone else is having the same problem, or if it's just the way we have ours set up.
I don't know, to be honest, Jennifer, because we only use our badges for staff at the moment.
Yep. Okay.
We may do that for our senior students. I think there's an age limit, an age.
Currently, yes. Yeah. 13
in Pathways,
plus.
Yeah, in Pathways, yes. So we're just using the old, not the Pathways version. So it's still
Canvas now. Canvas badges it's called now.
Yeah, Canvas badges. Just as a means of trialing it and, gamification of some of our units for our younger diverse learning kids who really need that extra stimulus with their progress. And when we do that, yeah, it's adding all our parents as staff in the group. So I was just wondering, obviously it's just a badges thing, maybe. It's not causing us problems or issues at the moment, but I was just wondering if there was a way I could get around it. If not, there's not.
I don't know.
It'd be good for you to actually reach out to our team about that, Jen, and
yeah,
we'll see if we can find out some more info for you.
Yeah, I sort of did to the badges group, and there wasn't really a solution. Obviously, pathways is slightly different. Okay, I'll sit on that for a little bit longer.
Gideon's also got a couple of questions. Thanks, Jen.
No worries.
Yeah, Gideon, we didn't try the free version. We actually we did a few little tests, but really we wanted, I guess, the pathways. We wanted that sort of bigger picture version. We haven't used it for performance management. It's probably a different thing from credentialing, sort of compliance and competency. Probably would be a sort of division there. So it's really about competency and just training for the way we teach and learn. Yes, we haven't gone down the performance management route with this.
Cool. Any other questions? Anyone? Jeff, I'm not sure if you can, Jeff, but do you have that course that you can show live? If you can't, then
Yep.
that's fine.
Like our induction course.
Yeah, just to show how the badges actually link inside the course itself.
Yeah. So this is the actual course. It's a blueprint, so there's no students in here. We just update the blueprint and then sync. So as I said before, we've got modules. So these are the modules here. In the back end, it's all run on modules. So everything's a module. So I could link down to a badging module like this one. And then just by editing the module, you can see the requirements for that. And you can play with the kinds of things. So, for a discussion, it's just contribute to the page, learning to learn. I'd like to change that. It's not terribly aspirational, but contribute to the page, answer the quiz. And then once you've completed that module, that would trigger the badge, and you can build that in the back of badges by just linking the badge from Badger or Campus Credentials to that module eventually. So this here is how you edit it. So I've added in the badges here, and to add a badge, that because we've got an LTI in the back, we can edit the requirements of that badge, which is simply to here complete the item or complete that module. And because you've got prerequisites loading down that particular module, just the trigger to complete that item will issue that badge automatically with the Canvas integration. So that's the kind of the micro credential. And then with the pathways, then that will add up, and it'll just automatically trigger as each of those badges are awarded to that sort of pathway badge. And that's where you can look at that. And as can any student teacher. I'm in the same course here. It loads up inside the course with the LTI. And again, the teacher can see exactly what they need to do. It actually doesn't work in student view for some reason because I'm not enrolled as a student. But you can see from a teacher view, it's essentially the same. It'll show them what they've completed inside of that. So you can...
yeah, it's always a bit tricky with LTIs and student view because the student in student view isn't an actual user. So it's the LTI standard doesn't really take that into account. But
yeah. Well, you can't see student view, but that's really those two steps. Work out your badge criteria, work out how it works in a pathway if you've got micro credentials, which just helps our teachers to know where they're at in a year-long progress. And then because it's all defined for them step by step, they'll know where to be at each step of the way for each of these courses.
Yeah. So Amy's asked an interesting question, Jeff. I don't know if you can see that in the chat.
Can the completion of each section badge trigger an email alert to another staff member? Maybe. I don't know.
I think normally it's more going in and looking at the analytics, who's completed what. So I don't, we'd have to double check actually with our team, but I don't believe it triggers an alert to another staff member. Obviously, if you're a teacher in the course, you're going to get notifications about submissions and things like that. So if you need to assess anything that a student has submitted, or in this case, a staff member as a student in the course has submitted, you'll get that as a regular Canvas notification as normal.
Yeah. Gideon, another one, contributing to the page is a really nice idea. Can you let us know a bit more about this? So that's a discussion. So because we've got 2,000 staff, we don't really want to mark a whole lot of stuff. We will do some qualitative feedback, but most of it we just want to contribute to a page, and then we'll just kind of monitor that from a distance. But it's not something we want to go in and mark every single grade, every single little item. So that's why. No, we didn't make new roles for staff. They are just simply teachers in this, sorry, the students in this course. They are just a student role because this instance is only for teachers as students. Canvas. I can't really show you the all the results, but I could pull up a page and show these are all the teachers. Here's the badges. Here's who earns it, who's earned it, etc. But you can just imagine what that list might look like.
Yep. Can't blur people's names on the fly.
Absolutely. Difference between a badge and a credential.
I think it's a kind of a philosophical discussion, this one. Yeah, I mean, how would you answer that, Jeff, or anyone? So yeah, how would anyone on the meeting right now answer that? I'm very interested to hear what people think.
So technically, this is the credential. So in other words, we were looking at this one here. So the credential is you must complete that part of that section. And really the badge that you get is just I guess it's the reward of that credential. It's the signal that you've got the credential in this case. So yeah, to me, it's just an outworking of what you've actually done as a credential.
Stacey, we've got a couple of things in the chat, but yeah, Stacey, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say probably the difference between what I would look at as a badge and credential, I'd just look at the badge as the single award to make that whole, it's almost like you subjects for a degree and then you get your credential. So everything's just the subset of what that actual final award is. So that's the way I would look at it anyway.
Yeah, that looks like it's along a similar vein to what John's put in the chat. So, I mean, technically a credential is a badge as well in this particular circumstance, but multiple badges can make up a credential. And that's probably, I'm actually, I don't know for sure, but that's probably why the free Canvas badges is just called Canvas badges, and Canvas credentials, which includes the pathways, is called Canvas credentials, because multiple badges can lead towards a credential at the end. There you go. Yeah, Gideon, badges as milestones to the final credential. Also, credentials sound a bit more posh. I like that. Yeah. It seems like we're all in agreement here. So Dave is saying, yep, use a badge to recognize each stage of learning. The combination of badges result in attaining the credential. So it seems like we're all on the same page there. Yeah, it's interesting as you go through and put badges in your course. Once you head along the pathways path, you can either have those badges in a single course or in different courses or from external sources as well. So you might have someone who's completed a badge from Microsoft, and they can bring that into their badging account and have that contribute towards a pathway as well to a final credential. I think it's and that kind of relates to what Gabby was saying in her question. Are there externally recognized credentials? So the Open Badges standard is a global standard, and multiple organizations can create the badges. Essentially, when you're using either the free badges or credentials, your school becomes an issuer of badges. And so you become the authority of the badges that you create for your organization. And so it comes down to the public. They can verify that it's a legitimate badge from that institution. All the metadata is contained in the badge of the issuer. And so you can see where it's come from. And so it comes down to trust in that organization, that you actually trust what's in that badge, just like a degree, a university issuing a degree. It all comes from trust in that university being able to deliver what they've outlined are the requirements for meeting that degree. And you can think of badges. Let's take that example. You have different units of study within a degree. Each of those you could receive a badge for, with the degree being the final credential, just as a bit of an analogy there. Hope that kind of makes sense. All right. Did you want to chat about what you've mentioned there, Gideon, in the chat? You got a really nice comment there.
No, which bit? Sorry. Sorry. The bit that I was replying to Gabby about.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I listen, hi everyone, it's great to be here. It's my first time here. I'm teaching in an international school in Malaysia. Yeah, so we've made a commitment to look at the badging or the credentials learning platform, whole school. We focus on future ready skills as a key element across our school. So we'll be asking each department to recognize those skills within their curriculum, but also in terms of engaging departments to look at what things they could badge up. So for example, I'm a physics teacher, and we've been looking at practical skills as a way of actually badging those. So recognizing for students how important they are, but not, finding an engaging, interactive way to assess them. So I think that kind of process of having a whole school approach to it, but also engaging departments as well and getting them to think a little bit about it. And I think, just as we mentioned early on, we will run with badges for our students as well as badges for our staff. So actually staff are both students and creators of the framework as well. So hopefully that will kind of push things along. The interesting bit for me is actually what you then do with all those badges at the end, all those credentials. Where does that sit, and how does the student take that forward, for example, when they leave, and what value does that have later on? So maybe that bit that Gabby's asking about external credentials and building them up into some sort of backpack or portfolio, which I know is coming at some stage.
That's actually a really important point, Gideon. You can take the badges with you. They belong to you. Once you have an account, even if you switch organizations, you can link what you've received from your previous organization. You can add your personal email address to be able to log in to your badges and view your badges. And then you can add the new organization address to be able to verify that you've receiving badges from that organization as well, so that when you've connected all that in Canvas at the new organization, it comes through and connects all to the one badging account. And as Jeff said, you can share those badges on LinkedIn, and you can do what you like. It's an open standard and you own them. As long as the issuing organization certifies that they're valid, and badges can expire. If you do have, there are certain certifications that you can do where the certification is only valid for 1 year or 3 years or whatever it may be, and those organizations can set those badges to expire. But as long as they're an active current badge, then they'll be there. Okay. All right, I think there's been some really good discussion. Is there anything else before we move on to the next item on the agenda that we wanted to chat about today? Any other questions? No? All right, let me share my screen again. And the next thing we're going to be talking about is how you're setting standards for supporting training staff and development of their Canvas courses. And we mentioned in the email that we sent out in relation to this, the course evaluation checklist. So that if you've never seen this before, this is a really handy tool which you can download from this page in the community. Actually, let me put it in the chat so everyone's got it. And you can access that in the community. And it's a handy resource that you can refer to. You can create your own, use it as a basis to build your own structure for how you might build minimum standards or minimum requirements for your Canvas courses in your Canvas instance at your school. So as you can see here, it has some examples of what might be counted as foundational for what needs to be inside of a course. So having a homepage, navigation is clear and consistent. In fact, one thing that people don't consider is trying to have consistency in the order of your course navigation in Canvas. And there are certain things that you can do to make sure that it is fairly consistent, at least when the course is first created. But yeah, we're happy to chat to you about that or circle back to that if we have time now. You know, this is just an example. You don't have to do this verbatim at all, but it gives you an idea of the things that you might want to include as minimum requirements or minimum standards, just to evaluate where your courses are at as well. When you do an end of year review and have a look at what people are actually doing inside their courses, you can refer to this. So for those who came to Canvas Connect in Sydney, I think you would have seen the presentation from Kylie at Kerry Baptist. They actually have something kind of like this, but I think it's probably even more in depth than this, about what their expectations are of their staff and their courses. Is there anything that anyone's doing of a similar nature at their school that they want to share and chat about?
I can show what we do if you like. Same sort of thing.
Sure.
In that same kind of way, now we call it an assignment, but it's a checklist. And this one's actually a rubric with 6 key areas. Now it's beyond just Canvas design. It is pedagogy, you know, so we've sort of drilled into what we do. But you can see there, it's actually a rating system for our content. And then we've actually started to use the City Labs Ready Go check to sort of be able to check and as a kind of pre-flight checklist to see if our Canvas courses are up to scratch. So it's just, I guess it's more of a pedagogical approach, but it certainly gives a view on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that pedagogical approach because then it links it to why they have to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yep. You can bring them on. It's much easier to bring someone on board if they know why they're meant to be doing it.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that is doing anything similar that has a checklist or minimum requirements list, or and how do you deliver that to your staff as far as training is concerned? We've got Stacey with a hand up.
We did it a few years ago just as an audit. So it was the same sort of thing as what Kerry had done. So, and we went through, David's exhausted just even thinking about it, but we did a full audit of everyone's course just to go through, and we did it as a checklist. So our checklist was actually on SharePoint so everyone could view it. But we also attached the teaching standards to it as well. So as in, like there was, delivering, the CEF, actually we're delivering, sustaining, growing, and excelling as in best practice. So we use the languages of the CEF, and then we also attach teaching standards as well to it. So people could actually then link it as well. So that's what we did. We haven't updated that for a while. Ours is pretty old. But from that, I think we used Canvas Standards 1.0, like the first one. So when that came out, we actually just discovered it on there. But it was a similar sort of thing, but it really did help align the courses and just get a bit more consistency, because, for the first few years we had Canvas, everyone just went berserk and had a great time. And then we better rein this in. So it was a similar thing, but we did do that, and then we had some samples there for them. And then once they were reviewed, they could go see if there was an improvement, or if not, book a meeting with us to, you know, sort of do it that way, just to sort of use it as a support mechanism as well. So that's what we did. It worked out. We probably need to do it again, but at this stage, we've moved to Canvas Elementary. So we're kind of there you go, the voice from the deep. Since we've moved to elementary, it kind of pulls the standardization in for us. So it's pretty good. Anyway, that's from us.
Thanks, Stacey. Jen?
Yeah, after the Canvas, the get together, I sat down with ours, and I started in a new school this year, and their Canvas was all over the shop. So that was one of the first things I really needed to get. So we have a style guide that we've worked on, and at the back of the style guide, it talks a lot about all the different things that they can have in their Canvas, and then at the back there's a checklist, and I've cross-referenced our checklist with that the one from instructor, and it's been really helpful having that as backup when I take it to the staff to say, look, it's not just me saying these are good ideas, you know, and these are some really great ideas from obviously lots of areas, and lots of expertise have brought that in together. I'm investigating, and I'd be interested to know if anyone's using template courses, because I have some staff who are really struggling, and in some ways a template course really gives them the basic structure that they just then take on and build from there. We have design tools, so I love the new design tools in their home pages that have really great ways of establishing those accordions and links on their front page. So yeah, so we definitely use the Canvas community, the instructional course evaluation checklist, and I've used that to inform our own style guide and our own checklist for staff. How we're rolling that out this year is we have professional learning team meetings in our timetable, so we deliver it there. And then, yeah, the whole template courses I know might be a whole other issue that we might discuss on another day, but I'd be interested to see, yeah, because I think that's the way we're going to go, just to support our high needs, low end users.
Yeah, well, I imagine that there are a fair few schools that have template courses to start people off, but especially schools using blueprints, I'd imagine. One thing, well, whilst we're talking about templates, I wouldn't mind bringing up is in Canvas itself, you can create a template course for an account. Now, just the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because it can be really, really helpful, but it can also be a bit of an issue if you're not aware of how they kind of work. So if you're using it to build out template content in a course, they're really most useful when you're just starting with Canvas, because the way they work is the content that's in the template course gets replicated with any new course that's created in that account or the sub accounts underneath it. So of course, if you're a couple of years in, you've got all your content and everything already, that's not going to be a great experience to have that template content in there, and then you're going to have to rejig it with the content that you've got already and things like that. But where it can be really handy is if you've got a blank template course and all you're doing is setting all the course settings in that template, and then the order of the navigation and things like that. If you do that, then that can be really useful, because that brings that consistency that we were talking about earlier with the navigation inside the course and with the settings. So if you've got a default grading scheme that you use and you set that in the template, you know, all that kind of flows down to the courses that are created. So those blank, empty template courses that just have all the settings that you want to be standardized, that can be really, really handy.
Yeah, that's what I've done so far. And because, yeah, we're just in the process of starting that rollover into next year, and the blueprints made ready for staff to work on this term and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and it was just the homepage that the leadership team really liked. They liked the design, they liked the layout. So they want to really push this consistency for our students kind of process. I know there'll be some teachers who really push back on it because they've got pages that they love and, you know, layouts and buttons that they've designed in Canva and put in. But so far, yeah, it's really for the settings and the structure of the course, and then a homepage for that consistent landing page for the students, and the rest is up to the staff. So that's what the plan is, and I was, you know, hopefully that, you know, works. I'm not sure everyone will love it, but not everyone loves everything all the time, so that's okay.
Well, I think the key thing there is, you know, you're focusing on the students, which is really most important. You know, what's the experience of the students? And that helps you with that why again. You know, why are we actually doing this? And it's because we want that consistent experience with the students. And that actually makes a huge difference.
Yeah. But someone been doing some study on the reducing cognitive load on students, so it tied in really well with that. I was able to go to the leadership team and say, look, here's one thing that we can do to reduce that cognitive load. Kids know exactly where they're going every time. It's that you just get some teachers who have built these home pages with beautiful buttons and things that flash that they love. So it's just managing that. But so yeah, at this stage, those template courses don't have too much in them other than those settings and a homepage. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice. There's also you can combine that with what Dave and Stacey were talking about earlier with Canvas for Elementary, where you could have that consistency. You could have template pages that you can use for the layout of the pages you create, and then use those and have that consistent navigation with Canvas for Elementary, which simplifies the navigation. We've had a few schools move across the whole school, K-12, to Canvas for Elementary. Now that you can have the standard Canvas font at the sub-account level, you can choose that. That's made a big difference for uptake of that outside of just the K-6 classrooms. Now, yes, Debbie, we know Barker are pioneers on that front, and we know you love it. Thank you for the applause on that. Is there anyone else who has anything that they're doing that they'd like to share along those lines, particularly around the training of the staff? You know, there's providing these resources to them, but how do you bring staff up to speed with these requirements or these standards? Stacey and Jen, you talked about the learning time that you have for your staff. Is there anything else that anyone does? I imagine that's probably pretty consistent across schools as you use PD time. But is there anyone else doing anything different or offering any additional support outside of that?
We certainly do. So departmental. So some of our regions have multiple courses, of course. Yeah. So team building really helps. So instead of each course being siloed per user, you know, if a team of 2 or 3 or 4 are building those courses according to some consistent way, then it cuts down workload and it creates consistencies.
Yep. Fiona, how's it going?
Hi, good. When originally started, we've sort of dropped the ball a little bit, but we created Canvas Crusaders. So we trained up 15, 12 staff who were sort of close to my level of understanding of Canvas, and then they act as mentors. So we keep them up to date. So that sort of worked really, really well in the initial days. The last couple of years with after effects of COVID and stuff, we haven't done it as much as we would have, but next year we'll look at doing that and offering one night after school for those Canvas questions, because they're trying new things and wanting to implement some new things, and so that's how we sort of keep on top of it at the moment. But yeah, like some of the others have said, we need to rein in the creativity on buttons and things, and that will be something we look at. The marketing team's not overly happy with some of our courses, but we did have because we launched Canvas in 2020 in 2 weeks during a lockdown, we created the template for all the courses because it was new to everyone. So most of them still look like that with only a few sort of going rogue, but that helped as well. We did use Blueprint, but only for, I think, once, and then we've not needed to use it anymore. But yeah, the Canvas Crusaders was a good initiative just to offer that extra support where I couldn't get around to everyone. So yeah.
Yep. Train the trainers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
In terms of support, I bought a copy of Calendly, the kind of online booking system, and integrated it with Outlook. So I put all my timetable in Outlook and then created those empty slots, then went on Calendly. So, and then I put a link on my digital signature. So staff can click on the link and find a place during the school day where hopefully their time fits with my time. So it's not always at the end of the school day. There's nothing worse than that CPD period 6 when you've done 5 straight periods. And that's worked quite well. You know, that they can see that there's that 15-minute slot or that 30-minute slot. And as I have a little questionnaire that I fill out just in case they want me to do something, to prepare something for that meeting. So again, it's that whole idea that actually you don't have to wait for that time, any time that you need. And Calendly I think for a teacher is, it's not a great deal every month, and actually it's worked well, so the school's prepared to pay for it. Under $100
For the year?
for the year. Yeah. There's a teacher licensing if you can prove that you are a school or something. But yeah.
Yep. You'll need to get your own Canvas Crusaders, Gideon. Spread the load. All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to share on this, or just any general Q&A before we finish up for the day? Yes, Stacey.
I was just going to say with the PL, because we've been doing our PL on Canvas for a long time. So we've now got our school orientation that's been there for a while. Our Canvas training is also there. We actually have Canvas champions, not Crusaders, but so we did that when we first started. And then the other thing we're bringing back next year is Techie Brekkie. So because that sort of dropped off. So we're going to do that next year, but we're going to align that with at the same time, because I'll be running both, is the accreditation Brekkie, so that the people that maybe want to do higher accreditation are also going to sit near the people that want to get support for technology or Canvas or anything else, and that might align, and that could also be something that then they can use as evidence as well. So we're going to try that just to see if anything crosses over, because you know the department has a goal, but the national goal across all schools and all sectors is 10,000 hat or lead teachers by the end of 2025. So we're going to sort of see if we can get a few people through there. So we're going to align accreditation meetings with Techie Brekkie and see how that goes. But we've also done a department, I don't know how many department schools are on here, but we've done a department induction. So we've linked all the documents and the courses from MyPL and everything for induction into one section on Canvas now, because otherwise it's just far too confusing for new staff to the department. It's ridiculous. It's hard to navigate and find everything. So we've tried to pull everything into one spot. So that's what we're doing.
Nice. Techie Brekkie sounds fantastic because food always greases the wheels. It's universal. Okay. Interesting request from Ed from Nexus International School in Singapore. G'day, Ed. Is just wondering if everyone can share their schools and curriculums in the chat. So they're currently implementing MYP and the International Baccalaureate Diploma with Canvas, and you should see here anyone else is. So is there anyone on at the moment who has MYP? Oh yeah, Tara, that's right, you're MYP. Do you do the diploma as well?
Yeah, we're a continuum school. We're right from PYP right to the DP, so all the way through K to 12 IB. We have an HSC pathway as well. We do both.
Nice.
We're struggling, as you know, we've had this conversation often. One of the struggles that we have with Canvas is just because we use the outcomes, which I know we have the outcomes, but it is just being able to, there's just been a few things with continuous reporting and trying to align all the MYP stuff with Canvas, but we're hacking away. I'm happy to connect with you, Ed, if you want. I can give you some of our tips and tricks.
And we do have a couple of other schools in the region as well that are using Canvas for various IB programs, whether it's PYP, MYP, and the diploma. So yeah, we can connect you with those schools as well, Ed. Oh, there you go. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else? We're coming close to our allotted time. But are there any other questions or anything anyone wants to share whilst we have a couple of minutes left? All right, I think that's a mandatory 6 seconds is the rule. So if there's nothing else, we'll finish up for the day. If there's anything else, feel free to reach out to our team as well. We always like to catch up with everyone. And yeah, it's lovely to see everyone. Thanks for everyone who shared today. And we also had a survey that we sent in the email. If you have any questions or topics that you think would be great to cover, or anything that you are doing at your school that you'd like to share in a future user group, feel free to follow that survey. It's just a couple of questions, literally 2 questions after putting your details in, just on things that you might be able to share, or questions you might have for future user groups. So feel free to fill that survey in. It'll take you probably 30 seconds. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. But otherwise, this is the last user group for this year, and we'll catch everyone in 2024. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or depending on which time of day it is in your region. I think it's every afternoon at least for everyone. And we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.